Ladies and gentlemen, life is not a smooth road. It's a battlefield of emotions, challenges, and choices. Every sunrise asks us one question: will you rise stronger or remain the same? To truly level up in life, we must learn not to be ruled by what happens around us, but by what happens within us. The Stoic path is not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's not about being cold, it's about being calm in the fire. So let me share 10 Stoic strategies to rise above chaos and become unshakable. Control what you can, accept what you can't. It sounds simple, almost too simple, yet within these few words lies the essence of real strength and peace. Most people spend their lives wrestling with things far beyond their control. The opinions of others, the past that cannot be undone, the future that cannot be guaranteed. We fight storms we cannot stop, and in doing so, we forget that the real battle is not out there in the world, but inside our own minds. When you finally understand that control is not about dominating every situation, but about directing your own thoughts and actions, you begin to find freedom in places you never expected. To control what you can means to take full responsibility for yourself, your choices, your words, your discipline, your response to life's unpredictability. Every reaction you give is a statement of who you are. You may not choose what happens to you, but you always choose how to meet it. A calm person is not one who has an easy life, but one who has mastered their inner dialogue when life becomes hard. The storms may still rage, but they no longer shake the foundation. Acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the ability to see reality clearly, without coloring it with resistance or denial. When you stop wishing that life were different, you can finally begin to act effectively within it. Too often, people waste energy trying to bend the world to their will, trying to change people who will not change, trying to rewrite events that have already happened. This constant struggle creates frustration, bitterness, and fatigue. But when you learn to distinguish what is within your power from what is not, you redirect that energy toward growth and mastery. The mind is your true domain. Within it, you have the ability to choose patience over anger, courage over fear, and clarity over confusion. That is where your control lives. Everything outside, the economy, the weather, the opinions of others, will move as it wishes. You cannot stop it, but you can always decide how to respond. That response defines your character more than any circumstance ever could. This understanding turns pain into teacher and loss into lesson. When something painful happens, the question is no longer, why me? But, how can I rise through this? That shift from resistance to responsibility changes everything. It frees you from the chains of complaint and places power back in your hands. You become unshakable, not because the world is kind, but because your mind is disciplined. Control what you can, your effort, your focus, your integrity. Accept what you can't, the outcomes, the past, the randomness of fate. Between these two lies serenity. When you live by this principle, you stop being a victim of life and start becoming its student. And in that space of acceptance and action, true strength quietly grows. Discipline over desire is the choice that separates those who merely wish from those who truly achieve. Desire is easy, it burns hot and fades fast. It is the spark that wants reward without the work, pleasure without patience, victory without the grind. Discipline, on the other hand, is cold fire, steady, quiet, and relentless. It does not depend on mood or motivation. It acts when the mind resists, when comfort calls, and when no one is watching. Comfort weakens because it teaches the body to seek ease and the mind to avoid effort. Discipline strengthens because it teaches you to move forward even when every part of you wants to stop. Every act of self-control, no matter how small, shapes your spirit into something sharper and more dependable. When you wake early instead of sleeping in, when you hold your tongue instead of reacting in anger, when you choose to work instead of waste the hour, these moments are your training. They may seem small, but they are the invisible bricks that build unshakable power. Desire wants instant satisfaction. Discipline builds lasting strength. One fades quickly, the other endures. The disciplined person understands that freedom is not found in giving in to every craving but in mastering it. The world will always offer distractions, pleasures that promise relief, shortcuts that promise results, and excuses that sound reasonable. But every time you give in, you surrender a piece of your will. Every time you resist, you take it back. The stronger your discipline, the freer you become from the pull of impulse and the weight of regret. True discipline is not punishment. It is a form of respect. Respect for your potential, for your time, for your future self. It means treating your goals as sacred and refusing to let temporary emotions steer you off course. Desire may be the voice that whispers, "Just this once," but discipline replies, "Not today." And that one choice, repeated often, builds a mind that cannot be easily moved by temptation or fatigue. Progress is rarely dramatic. It happens in silence, in small decisions made moment by moment. The world may not applaud your discipline, but life itself will. You will feel it in your clarity, your focus, your ability to endure what others avoid. The mind that has tasted the strength of self-control no longer depends on external motivation. It becomes its own source of energy. Discipline also brings peace. While desire constantly reaches outward, chasing the next thing to fill the void, discipline turns inward and finds contentment in mastery. It is not about denying pleasure, but about giving it its proper place. To live with discipline is to understand that the highest reward is not indulgence, but the confidence of knowing that you are stronger than your impulses. Every moment of restraint is a victory, every act of consistency a declaration that you command yourself. In that mastery lies real power, calm, quiet, and unbreakable. Adversity is the teacher that life sends to those who are ready to grow beyond comfort. Hardship is not punishment, it is preparation. The easiest seasons of life rarely shape us because comfort asks for nothing, while difficulty demands everything. When the path becomes uncertain, when plans collapse, and when pain arrives uninvited, those moments reveal the truth about who we are. They strip away the illusions of control and expose the core of our character. Every trial, every setback, every loss is an invitation to evolve, to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. People often wish for a life free of struggle, but such a life would be empty of depth. The finest steel is not made in calm air but in fire. In the same way, your courage, patience, and wisdom are forged in the heat of challenge. It is in adversity that you learn to endure when endurance feels impossible, to find clarity when the world feels chaotic, and to move forward even when progress is invisible. Pain becomes the instructor that teaches lessons no comfort ever could. Adversity humbles the ego. It reminds you that not everything is within your control, that even the best-laid plans can collapse, and that strength is not about avoiding failure but facing it with dignity. When life denies you what you want, it often gives you what you need: perspective. Through hardship, you begin to see that the things you once feared losing were never the source of peace. The source lies in your own response. That realization is freedom. When you stop cursing hardship, you begin to use it. Each challenge becomes a tool. Failure sharpens humility. Loss deepens gratitude. Struggle cultivates patience. Pain teaches compassion. Every difficulty holds a lesson, but only those who look for it will find it. Most people waste their suffering by resisting it, by asking, "Why is this happening to me?" The wiser question is, "What is this trying to teach me?" The student of adversity learns to trust the process even when it hurts. Growth rarely feels pleasant while it's happening. Muscles ache when they're being strengthened, and the mind aches when it's being stretched. But with time, you realize that what once felt unbearable became the very thing that gave you endurance. Adversity doesn't just test character. It reveals it and then refines it. It shows you the gap between who you are and who you could be, offering the challenge to bridge that distance. When hardship arrives, meet it with steady eyes. Let it do its work, let it strip away what is weak, let it build in you what cannot be broken. Every storm you survive becomes proof of your resilience. Every obstacle overcome becomes part of your foundation. Life will never be free of struggle, but if you treat every challenge as a forge, you will emerge not bitter but better, not defeated but defined by your strength. Virtue is the ultimate victory because it is the one thing that cannot be taken from you. Everything else, wealth, power, reputation, even health, is temporary. They rise and fall with the unpredictable tides of fortune. But virtue, the steady commitment to what is right, remains untouched by time and circumstance. When you live by principle rather than popularity, you anchor yourself in something eternal. You no longer chase approval or bend to the shifting winds of opinion. You act with integrity, not because it is easy or rewarded, but because it is right. That is true strength, to be governed by conscience, not by convenience. Wealth fades. The things you possess today may belong to someone else tomorrow. Fame disappears. The applause that once echoed for you will eventually fall silent. But integrity endures because it lives within the soul, not in the eyes of others. It is built in private moments when you choose honesty over deceit, effort over excuse, and kindness over cruelty. Virtue is not about appearing good, it is about being good when no one sees. The measure of a person is not what they gain, but what they are willing to lose to remain true to their principles. A life guided by virtue brings peace because it aligns the mind and the heart. When your actions reflect your values, there is no inner conflict. You do not need to remember your lies or hide from your choices. You walk straight, free from the weight of guilt or hypocrisy. Even when life denies you reward or recognition, you remain undefeated, for your victory lies not in outcomes but in integrity itself. To be virtuous is to live in harmony with reason, to act justly even when injustice prospers, and to stay gentle even when the world turns harsh. The pursuit of virtue demands courage. It means standing firm when others waver, speaking truth when silence would be safer, and holding to your standards when the crowd chooses ease. There will be moments when virtue costs you, perhaps comfort, approval, or advantage, but every sacrifice made for integrity enriches the soul. You may lose in the eyes of the world, but you gain something far greater: self-respect. The person who keeps their principles cannot be truly poor, for they possess a wealth that time cannot diminish. Virtue also inspires others, even if silently. A life lived with integrity becomes a mirror in which others see what is possible. It lights a path in a world clouded by ambition and deceit. The virtuous person does not preach goodness, they live it so consistently that it becomes unmistakable. And though their name may fade, the impact of their character remains. To live by virtue is to win a quiet, lasting victory, not the kind that fills the world with noise, but the kind that fills the heart with peace. It is the triumph of the soul over circumstance, the unshakable proof that honor outlasts everything else.